Hey, welcome to Q&A, where you ask your questions and I do my best to answer. Got an intriguing question. It's not a question that I'd ever thought of before, and it's got me thinking as I read it this afternoon. So here's the question. I read that the work of a Christian is primarily restorative. For example, healing, forgiveness, pastoral care, etc. All these restore order to people. Therefore, isn't gender reassignment surgery restorative as it's correcting a disorder? So why are Christians against it? And as I say, I'd never seen things quite in that light, never thought about it in that light. I've never heard someone describe the works of faith as restorative. I'd never even thought about it myself. So what do I think about that? I think some works of faith are restorative, but I don't think all works are restorative. I don't think you could say that the work of a Christian is primarily restorative, for example. Some acts are restorative, as you say, healing, for example. When you pray for healing, that is restoring things. I think there are acts of kindness that restore dignity, that restore hope. Forgiveness restores a relationship. But there are also acts of faith that don't. I think of Luke 12:51, where Jesus talks about how he didn't come to bring peace, but to divide people against each other. So that's Jesus himself saying that what he came to do it wasn't going to restore everybody. In fact, it was going to divide. I think of what Jesus says in Luke chapter 10, where he said that those who reject the message of the gospel, then that the judgment they would receive would make what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah look pale in comparison. So again, Jesus comes to preach the gospel, and when he preaches it, it's actually anything but restorative. It's divisive, and he says those who reject him on the evidence of the miracles and everything else, it's going to be worse for them than it was for Sodom and Gomorrah. So you would say that there's two examples where the works of faith are not restorative, that they're anything but. So while some works of faith are restorative, others are condemning for some people. I would want to say, I think that it's not based on the faith of the people who are doing those acts. It's determined by the response of people on the receiving end. Certainly preaching the gospel is restorative. It restores people to right relationship with Jesus, but they have to act on it. They have to embrace it. They have to seek forgiveness. So I'm not sure that I want to say that the work of a Christian is primarily restorative. I think there is certainly a restorative dimension to many works, but not all works. You quote, if this is the person who wrote this question, they quoted forgiveness. Forgiveness does restore a relationship, no question. But for that to happen, the person being forgiven must receive it. It's not automatic. So no, not all. I don't want to say that all works are restorative. But the question was asked in two parts, and the second part is really the intriguing thing in some ways. So the question is, primarily works are restorative, therefore isn't gender reassignment surgery restorative as it's correcting a disorder? So why are Christians against it? Again, as I think about this, I guess the question that rises for me is, where is the disorder? When you talk about it's correcting a disorder, where is that disorder? It seems to me there are only two possibilities. The first is that I have the wrong body. I'm a female trapped in a man's body, or I'm a man that's trapped in a female's body. And to change that, you have gender reassignment surgery. You alter the bits that define you as a male and the bits that define you as a female. But genetically, you're still a male or a female. Biologically, you're still a male or a female. So my question really is, what has been corrected or restored? I think I think the question is based on a faulty premise. I think it's based on this thought that I feel like a woman trapped in a man's body, or I feel like a man trapped in a woman's body. The question I have is, since when are feelings the arbiter of truth? When do we base everything on feelings as opposed to facts? When is it okay to say, because I feel this way, it's okay too? You talk to many people who commit adultery, they feel good about it, but we don't say, well, if you feel it's okay, it's okay. I think about teachers and their interaction with kids, and parents and their interaction with children. When a children disrespects the adults, it's not okay. Why? The children feel it's okay. They feel like they're entitled to. So why are feelings not the basis for determining what's right, what's wrong in that context? I think of assault. Someone upsets me, so I feel that it's okay to hit them. The law has a very clear view on that. So I think the premise is faulty to say that the disorder is a physical disorder. I think there is an alternative, that the only other option is that the disorder isn't really in the body, but with the mind. And Ephesians 4, Paul contrasts those who believe and trust in Jesus and those who don't by saying that those who don't have minds that are confused, are hard, are shameless, even closed, because they are not, or because they are far from God. What Paul is referring to is that we were created for a relationship with God, and when we were created and in right relationship, our minds were wired in a way that is different from the way they're wired now. Because of the fall, because of sin, our minds have become corrupt. We've turned our mind on ourselves. We've turned it away from God to ourselves. What do I feel is right? What do I think is okay? How do I identify, and everything else? And that's why I say feelings are a lousy basis to determine what's right, what's wrong. I think of what Jeremiah said in 17 verse 9, the heart is deceitful above all else. Who can know its ways? I paraphrase that and say the heart hears what the heart wants. So I think the disorder is not the body, but the mind. And so gender reassignment surgery isn't really restoring anything. It's masking something that has not changed. So in relation to gender dysphoria, Christians say that the answer is not surgical, because the problem isn't the body, it's the mind. And that's why Christians don't support it, because it's not changing anything. The issue is not a man trapped in a woman's body or a woman trapped in a man's body. It's a person who is made in the image of God, but doesn't realize that, and sees themselves in ways that are less than who they are. And their way of dealing with it is to come up with solutions which are not actually going to solve anything at all. And so Christians, Christians' view is that people who seek surgical relief for an emotional disorder, it's not a good thing. So if people were to ask me my advice, I'm going to say to them, look, it's not my decision to make, but I want to explain to you. Give me the time to help you understand and see the issue is not in your body, the issue is in your mind, and changing your body is not going to change your mind. It might delay some things, but the issues are still there. So I would support them if they wanted to keep on doing it, but I wouldn't agree with it. I wouldn't condone it. So that's how I would see that. Not every work of faith is restorative, and I don't think that gender reassignment surgery is restoring a disorder or changing anything for the better at all. I think it's just masking things. I'm sure that other people have different views, and if this is your question, this is where we really hit up against the limitations of this medium for communicating, because you don't get this to be able to have a right of reply, so to speak. You can post another question. And so if this is your question, please, I'm not trying to beat up on you. I'm just answering it from my perspective, as humbly as I can. But that's why Christians have a problem with it. We wouldn't beat up and deny people who have gender reassignment surgery. We would see them very much as people, as people who need support and encouragement. We would do our best to walk with them, but we recognize that the issue is the mind, not the body. And so having surgery is solving nothing. So yeah, there you go. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Post your thoughts on the comments below. Until next time, God bless.